Welcome to She Who Heals, the spiritual business podcast for healers to take up space and talk about the services they provide. When healers serve more lives, more people are able to live in the peace and joy this world has to offer. I'm your host, healer, and spiritual business coach, Alyssa K. Barrios. Hello, healers, and welcome to another episode of She Who Heals, the spiritual business podcast for healers to take up space and talk about all the services that they have to offer. I am your host, Alyssa K. Barrios, and your spiritual business healer and coach. You guys, it has been a wild few months for many of us, of course, as we leave Aries season and continue to step forward in our journey. May we just take this moment to take a deep breath and acknowledge all that we have experienced, overcome, and to celebrate all that it is that this world is providing for us in this current lifetime. Being a human is not easy. And it is actually something that I've said a lot this year, more than I said last year. And last year you would assume would be the harder year, as we were in a very, very intense global situation where the globe was shutting down and keeping everyone in their homes, right? And as soon as I say keeping everyone in their homes, I think of those who don't have homes, right? I think of those whose homes are filled with a soul who is here activating abuse and trauma, right? So to feel this high intense collective energy in 2021, after experiencing all that we experienced already in 2020, I really want to take this time to acknowledge how hard it is to be a human being right now in this present world. And when I say that, I also think about how privileged and how much we have compared to what our ancestors had. The amount of resources that we have, how much our families and our parents have done for us to have what it is we have right now. And yet, I sometimes still feel guilty for feeling like, wow, it is really hard to be a human right now. And I've even caught myself saying, I don't even want to be a human right now. I don't want a human anymore. And it's been to a point where I have to sit back and say, wait a minute, my words are powerful. My energy is powerful. I don't mean that. I love this soul's lifetime. I love this journey I'm on. I love all that I have, all who are in my life. But yet there's this high intense pressure that is just being emanated throughout our collective. And I can blame social media, but I do believe that social media is a place where we are pointing the fingers at one another. I feel that social media right now is such a powerful tool that we can all use to share our experiences, to influence one another based on our purpose and why we are here, right? So when you are connected to your purpose and why you are here, which is what I do for our healers to help them discover and navigate, then we are able to make our impact. And it's important that we understand too, emotion is one of the lower frequencies that we can create action through. Well, let me actually restate that, because emotion will transmute the thought, which then transmute the manifestation and the reality. Yet the emotion is a lower frequency than our mental state and our spiritual state. So what I'm trying to share with you is when we lead on emotion, when we make decisions based on emotion, we're actually making decisions not in alignment with God, not in alignment with our higher self, not in alignment with our higher power. And emotions are powerful tools because they show and teach us what means a lot to us, right? A trigger is your sign that there is something that is looking to be discovered. An emotion of love is guidance that where you are is sparking that feeling. And that feeling can create a thought. I love this person. And that thought can create an action. I want to invest my time in this person, right? So emotions are so crucial in moving forward and creating the world we desire. Each one of us is in this realm, lifetime, universe for a very specific reason. And if we're on our social medias moving forward with emotion after emotion, and this emotion is not processed emotion, then we can actually be creating lower frequency energies into our space. And many of us on social media, especially if you're listening to this podcast, I truly believe in the power of all of those who take the time to receive what I'm here to share. I know that I live at a high frequency, and those who receive me are at a high frequency, which is why they're able to listen and follow along with what it is I'm sharing. So for all who are listening right now, I want for you to understand that you have so many people receiving your energy. I will be honest with you that I have been very guilty of sharing my emotions through my social media. My emotions were through anger, frustration, right? And I'll be also honest with why I was sharing from that emotion, because I had shame around my family. And this is something I don't really share with others. And I've actually processed this with my own emotional freedom coach, who is Jasmine Berame. I am partaking in her Transformational Tapping Experience program. And thank the God and ancestors and universe for aligning me with her and this program, because it was right before I launched higher into my business owner frequency. My external began to shift at a much higher vibration. I began to call in higher vibrational mentors. I began to call in higher vibrational settings where I am working with multimillionaire women, where I'm learning from multimillionaire women and women who are very successful in the industry that I'm in as an entrepreneur and a healer who believes so deeply in the spiritual frequency of our energy, right? Which is what I'm trying to share with you. Well, I did not realize how much shame I was holding back. And even sharing on this podcast, I have experienced so many times where I didn't say words or anything that was on my heart because I am afraid of what people are going to think and say. I am afraid of saying the wrong thing. And that has been me silencing myself. And why this is so important is because I know how much work I've done. I know my genuine, powerful, abundant, giving heart. I know how hard my ancestors, my father, my mother, my grandparents, my aunties, my uncles, I know how hard they have worked and supported me to take up space, make my impact, and be successful, to leave a strong leadership legacy for our family. Well, I'm doing that. But to get here was excruciating. It was so tough because I was so vicious to myself. And by being vicious towards myself meant I was radiating that externally. Although I did not want to, I did not intentionally want it to spread any negative low vibrational energy. But the result is, if I am not processing these emotions and instead I'm allowing these emotions to guide me, and I'm allowing these emotions to radiate into my social media, which is then being dispersed throughout thousands and maybe millions one day, right? Because what I'm creating now on my social media, I may wake up one day and have millions of followers all of a sudden. So what I share on my social media has to come from an aligned high vibrational place, because my energy matters, just like every single one of ours energy matters. So going back to the experience with Jasmine Berame and her transformational tapping experience, I showed up and it was in our group container, and our first call was sharing what was coming up in that moment. And you guys, I literally started tapping, and all I could do was judge what I wanted to share, criticize the way I showed up, and shamed myself for my truth. Why do I even feel this way, is what I was saying. Why do I even feel that it's okay to admit to the pain that I have of my childhood? Why do I want to sit here and complain about what is true within my life and what I feel? Why do I even want to sit and complain? And in the process of this, luckily my healer was strong and grounded and holding space and said, why are you criticizing yourself? Why are you judging yourself? Why can't you let yourself be? And I was like, I don't know. And in the moment, tears were just trying to pour out. But then even in that moment, I did not want to allow them. And I had never seen myself so critical on how I was, who I was. And then I began to process how much I have done that to others, how critical I am, how judgmental I've been, how hard on others I've been. Why? This human experience is hard enough. Why did I want to put more pressure on others? Because I felt and feel the pressure. It is so, so, so important how we are processing and then sharing with one another. There is truly no reason whatsoever that I should have sat there and criticized when I was literally facing and being provided a safe space to process all that was happening within me. Well, the reason was because this is what I was used to. This was something that I never faced because, one, I didn't have the opportunity to. I've never had a safe space where someone said, all right, we're going to tap through your emotions and allow anything to come up and process, right? When was the last time someone put you through a meditation? Because this is what Jasmine did. Put me through a meditation and literally grounded me in the group container, right? And so not only am I processing this on my own, but I'm also processing in front of two other incredible women who are choosing to be in this healing container, all powerful, honest, healing energy these women were radiating. So there again, no one was stopping me except myself. I had a safe space. I had the community. I had the support, right? Stronger together. And after the grounding journaling prompt that I stepped into after my meditation, I was feeling so much blockages in my heart. And I was feeling so much judgment and criticism on myself. And so when I then began the tapping process, it's EFT. The EFT emotional freedom technique is the healing modality that Jasmine uses. I felt my heart space wanting to just explode. And to be honest, but I couldn't because I was criticizing and judging her so deeply. So in the process of that call, I literally got off. We were probably on the phone. We were on the phone for 90 minutes because that's how long the session was. It's a 90-minute session. Each of us were able to share, I believe, about 14 minutes. She timed it because, again, holding the boundary, holding the safe space. She's a healer. She knows how to navigate these type of containers and keep them sacred and keep them fair and just allow everyone to have respected energy and shares. I got off the call and I immediately wanted to judge myself. How embarrassing. Why would you allow yourself to show up that way? And again, some of the women that were in this container, they follow me on my social media account. And even Jasmine was a former client of mine. So to be so vulnerable in front of someone that I help lead made me criticize myself and think, you're a failure. You just broke down in front of those who look up to you, right? And what nonsense is that? I'm a human being who is here being. Why put so much pressure on myself? Because that is what we are exposed to. So when we got off our call, I literally sat down and I cried uncontrollably, just sobbed. And what does my immediate reaction go to? Judgment and criticism. There's no way you're going to ever find a partner who's going to love you forever because you are a mess. How are you ever going to have children one day if you are going to just be crying like this for hours? Like, what? Why was my mind even going there? Because those are what I desire. I do desire a family. I do desire and believe that I can love someone intimately for a lifetime. Like, I truly in my heart believe in commitment and believe in choosing the person that makes you so makes you feel so safe and supported. I believe that because I'm that person. So I know that someone like me exists and wants a unionship like I desire. So without going too far into love, I want to talk about my desires are safe, but the way I speak to myself was not and is not. And that is what's blocking me from having those desires, is this criticism and judgment that I was putting on myself. And I literally told myself, Alyssa, you are allowed to cry. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to cry. That was my first step in really healing the criticism and the judgment and the pressure that I constantly put and have put on myself. And the moment I told myself, no more pressure, you are allowed to cry, you are allowed to exist and be, the tears stopped. It's like I freed myself. It's like I was put through this journey of facing all that I was doing to myself, even though it was so uncomfortable, without even realizing what I was getting myself into. Because the reason why I truly hired Jasmine was because I was called, like I heard about her transformative tapping experience. I've worked with her before, and she provided me a session it might have been a market research, but she gave away a free healing session to me. Also a client of mine and great friend. And I just realized how much she helped me process. And I thought, I'm worthy of getting more of this. I'm worthy of making this consistent. And I do remember her offering this to me, and I wasn't ready when she first offered it to me. And the reason why I wasn't ready is because I had already felt like I have just processed so much already. I am just healing after healing. Like, it gets exhausting, right? But then this leads me into the reason why I really wanted to bring up healing and growth in this podcast right now and in today's episode is the growth can be exciting. The healing can truly be exciting. And I knew I was ready for Jasmine's experience because I had met someone that started to mean a lot to me. And wow, I'm telling you guys a lot right now. Well, She Who Heals is back. It's been a while since we've been here, even though we have so many interviews lined up and interviews that are being edited by some incredible healers. But moving forward in this conversation, I have finally was realizing that my response to an intimate partner and to a partner who sparked interest and someone who could be aligned to my manifestation and desire of having a family, having that life partner to journey this lifetime with, well, he was manifested. And that's a whole other story that I will one day share with you. And I was realizing that we didn't talk every day, right? And my truth was, this feels so good. I can still run my business. I'm still my individual self, and I feel complete and whole when I don't talk to him every day because I still feel connected to him. I know that time and space doesn't exist. I know that our conversations are meaningful. I know that when I am talking to this person, I feel amazing. So when I'm not talking to that person, how am I going to feel within myself? And again, I don't want to go too far into this relationship and into the way I was processing because that's a whole other episode. But what I noticed was the moment my emotions started being triggered, I immediately went to negativity. So instead of thinking or instead of saying, oh, I miss this person. I miss them when I don't talk to them every day. Because great, every other day, every few days talking to this person and having our check-ins and calls and FaceTimes, right? Because this was during the pandemic, everyone being safe. So I was realizing, oh, I'm starting to miss this person, right? Because the more I got to know this person, the more I enjoyed their company and they became a part of my life. But instead of being able to tell this person I missed them, I started getting resentful. I started feeling not enough. And so I would bring this to my friend Jasmine, and she offered me the tapping session. That's how it happened. Oh, wow. I don't know if he knows that, but it's okay. No shame in my game ever. So I was realizing that my emotions were causing a negative frequency and energy when the truth is I just missed him. And so, of course, even being able to tell someone I miss you, it would mean a lot to me if we maybe talked a little bit more. How would you feel if I called you on certain days? Right? This person was so open and was like, please, I would love that. I really love talking to you. Like it was so reciprocated. It wasn't drama, but my emotions were in desire and in need of being processed in a healthy being way. And when I say being, in a way that wasn't judgmental, in a way that didn't cause pressure or put pressure on myself. But I wasn't used to doing that. What I was used to was feeling the pressure, whether it was feeling the pressure of the world, feeling the pressure of social media, feeling the pressure of probably my parents, right? And no shame in their parenting, but they want the best for me. And the way they wanted the best for me was most likely, obviously, if I have shown how much pressure I was causing on myself, well, that could be learned behavior. And I'll be honest too, as I healed that part, and trust me, it was a process, as I stopped criticizing myself, as I stopped judging myself, as I stopped putting pressure on myself, I realized how transformative my clients' results became. I realized how much I was able to choose love over everything else. I was able to realize how even loved ones who I'm close to, how they are critical on themselves, and I'm able to be that light for them. Like, you're amazing. No need to criticize and I don't try to teach others outside of my coaching because I do feel that we're all reflections of one another. So if I want someone in front of me to be confident and to love themselves, love their bodies, then I have to be feeling that within myself and doing that as an example. There was this level of, before realizing how much pressure I was putting on myself, I was actually resentful whenever I heard judgment or pressure or criticism. So it was just this cycle of negative energy that was just being cycled over and over and over again. And when I finally stopped with this pressure and with this criticism, I've began falling in love with myself, falling in love with the life I've been given, falling in love with this world, with all of those that I come in contact with, falling in love again with a partner who I came from a very traumatic partnership, right? Like most of my partnerships in life were very traumatic. And again, it's because I was radiating trauma. I had experienced so much of it growing up, and I had work in facilities where I was around those who had experienced traumas, and trauma is contagious. Okay. So when we see it and that's actually a great place to go into next. Like the trauma we see online, the trauma we hear in the news, it exists and it is real. Trauma happens every single day. And of course we can act on it. Of course we can allow that to guide us to our purpose and fuel our passion so we can make change and we can enforce what we want to see in this world, right? Justice, peace, 100% justice, right? And we have to, but also remember that trauma is so contagious. So as we make our choices and we share our energy, we speak our truth, we take up our space, are we processing the trauma that we've been exposed to first? Are we processing the trauma that is rooted within us? And again, there is no way I would ever tell someone how to be. I have my coaching, I support our healers, and I will share and give what it is you are asking support in. And by me understanding what criticism is, what pressure is, what judgment is, what force is, what misalignment is, I'm able to help our healers discover if that is what's happening within them and their business. And then we can process moving forward with creative solutions, aligned solutions, and solutions that feel really, really, really good. Because then that's the type of energy that they're radiating, right? And we're no longer spending money when we're feeling icky or when we're feeling pressured. Like, I will be the first one to tell and share with you, I've never signed a client who I was pressuring. I've never signed a client who said no and I said yes. Please come on, do this. I never signed a client when I talked that way or I acted that way. And I've been guilty of judging on those sales calls. I've been guilty of criticizing. But the reason why I was judging and criticizing those were because I was judging and criticizing myself. Are you really good enough? Even though the results are very proven. But this is just so much vulnerability I'm sharing with you. And I want us to remember that there is so much trauma and pressure and judgment and criticism in the world. And it is okay to take a step back and heal yourself and to process it all before having to share anything that you feel you're here to be sharing. We all have a voice. Every voice is here to expand our communities, whether we're being expanded because we've been triggered or whether we've been expanded because we've been inspired. Like, every single one of us has an opportunity to learn more about themselves. And opportunities definitely will look different because resources are distributed very, very in ways that are not fully, and I want to be able to speak in the deepest amount of alignment as I can, but also being very mindful that scarcity is a form of energy, in my belief, that tricks us into believing we are not powerful. That is a type of energy that I believe our resources are trying to be taught as. Abundance is showing and telling and creating the frequency that we will always be enough to receive because we simply exist. Our existence means that we are here to receive. When we are taught scarcity mindset, when we are taught we do not have enough, that is the energy and frequency that we then begin to create. And I'm not saying that every journey to get to that abundant state of mind is the same, because 100% it is not the same. But speaking from my truth, I know what my parents have overcome. I know where my parents are both living, right? And I bring up parents because they are the human beings that I've witnessed my whole life. And I'm still in contact with them and able to see the lives that they are both living. I'm going to recommend a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? And this is a book about an investor who learned about money at the age of 13. And he learned about money because he learned that his father, a school teacher, very kind-hearted man, always struggled in the scarcity mindset and did not live in his abundant mindset. While this 13-year-old at the time was realizing that his dad was so smart, had the education, had the job, but still didn't have nice things and still struggled to pay bills, right? There was an energetic feeling of stress in this home. But then this 13-year-old boy would go to his friend's house and he would see the abundance that his father was accumulating. And so this young boy, so godly created, like we have to understand that God is working through every single one of us. Like, this book is divinely written. young wise man creating this powerful book. And I also am looking at Amanda Frances. Her book is written as well about money. And these beings on earth, literally gift from God, who are speaking about the frequency and energy of money and abundance and how they've come from scarcity, right? And so this young boy then goes about his journey on studying the different types of mindset and how he now is very wealthy, well off, has his book, great book. I recommend both of them, Amanda Frances, and the author for Rich Dad, Poor Dad is Robert Kiyosaki. So moving forward in that, the journey to get to abundance is going to be different for every single one of us. But it is a choice. It is a choice that we can live. And the human experience is filled with triggers. It's filled with trauma. It's filled with experiences that are here to remind us that we are human and we get to decide the type of being we are going to be. And when I say we get to decide, that also feels slightly beyond us because we've each been here and designed here and sent here to be for a divine higher reason. And the reason why I want to talk about being and talk about growth in this episode is because it's really hard to be right now. And I just want everyone to understand that if you've been feeling this way, you're not alone. And I recommend Jasmine Berame's Transformational tapping experience. I recommend working with a healer one-on-one. I recommend working with someone who has the experience to help you process in a sacred, intimate container. Knowing that no one is better than one another, and knowing that as strong as you are, you're also a human who is being. And remembering that you are an energetic light, an energetic form that is here receiving energies from around the world and from your communities. So whether or not you've experienced high level amounts of trauma is contagious. So there's no reason why none of us should be processing and receiving the healing and the space to be without judgment, without an agenda, but to just simply be. Because this human experience is not easy, and yet it can be very magical, very, very magical as we allow ourselves to be. So I'm going to share this last sharing because I've gotten a lot of comments about this. Last week, I was in a really, really committed lipstick phase. So many of you saw me busting up my red lipstick, even drew on the eyebrows, like your girl was playing with makeup. And the reason why I was playing with this makeup is because, like I just shared, I've been going through my own experience of like, being a human is hard. Well, in the transformative tapping experience with Jasmine, I literally was judging how beautiful women, and not even just women, but how beings were. Right? I literally, whatever gender you want to say, like whatever, like just beings, like whoever used makeup on themselves and on their faces, like that is huge to me. I'm like, your face is the first thing people see typically, right? Like we make eye contact immediately. Like you're so brave to draw on it and to make it so beautiful. Why can't I do that? So I was talking to my healing coach, Jasmine, about this, and I was again judging myself. And I said, what's my truth? My truth is, I think makeup is beautiful. I think it's so fun and cool that people can make themselves look the way they want, right? Like our bodies is truly a canvas, and we get to create the image and energy we want. And it was so aligned because I then made a commitment like, okay, I'm going to put on lipstick, I'm going to do my makeup, and it's okay if I look silly some days. It's okay because I'm learning, right? Just like I tell my healers and I coach my healers through, like, it's okay if you're still learning how to create and build a business. You're learning, but at least you're doing it, right? Every very successful being started somewhere, right? So every person who I see and admire because of their beautiful makeup and their bright, bold, powerful, beautiful lipstick, right? Like, oh, the Latino women, just like when I see their red lips, I'm like, yes, queens, yes. Why can't I be that? Because I didn't allow myself to. Well, not anymore because I was vibing really hard that week. But I want to extend even more why I did the lipstick. So, of course, I have that beautiful breakthrough, and I'm honest about this, and I'm honest about where a lot of this fear came from, and I processed that, and I forgave those, and I forgave myself, and ooh, a whole other episode of forgiveness. But when you forgive, you make space to receive. And when I did that, my business mentor, my $1 million sell, and again, maybe one day I'll have him here and you guys can receive all of his incredible wisdom. He's my $1 million sell though, because I manifested him. I was like, I love my business coaches, but like I'm here to start working with those who are making millions, right? And here he came. So he calls me and gives me what I need to hear and says, it is time you become confident as I'm not cussing because I still don't know if my podcast is explicit or not, but it is time to be so damn confident. I want you to just talk about everything and anything that you want and desire. There is no more humility and being humble right now. It is time for you to lead and talk about everything that you want. It is time for you to be your most confident self. And I literally immediately envisioned myself wearing my lipstick, walking around and owning it. Because in one, yeah, I knew I was going to look good to an extent. I was also a little nervous, like, girl, how are you going to look? Like, is this actually going to look good? Or are you going to look crazy? But I knew that I wanted to step into my confidence internally. So it didn't matter what I was wearing on my outside. I wanted to feel internally confident. And you guys, I started playing with my makeup, and I've never played with my makeup before where I was like, dang, girl, you actually look really good. Because my intention amplified the action. My internal confidence and reminder and pep talk and healing of forgiveness I did with Jasmine, and then the talk from my mentor. I was like, I'm activated, like it's time. And this may not sound like a big deal, but for me, this has been a part of my truth since I was young. I had really beautiful, beautiful friends all through high school. I had, even like in middle school, very beautiful friends. And then even like, I don't want to call them the mean girls, but being a woman, being a girl, especially in high school, like we're not always nice to each other. We're dealing with our emotions. And again, when emotions aren't processed, our action can be intense and mean and aggressive. Our energy can be the same, aggressive. I still admired. I was like, they are just so beautiful the way they can dress themselves up. And in the process of admiring them, I wasn't able to admire myself. So this was a huge, huge win for me. Thank you for all the comments. And in the process of that as well, I manifested an invitation and accepting the invitation to attend a multi-million-dollar woman, Amanda Francis, who I actually just mentioned because of her money book. I attended her book launch party. She sent out an invitation, and of course I accepted. It was in Beverly Hills, beautiful rooftop. I was able to do so much energy work for my internal self to be able to just show up to that event, right? I went alone, and I was just so, so proud of the way I showed up and realizing that this is a goal and I'm allowed to be here. And again, like in the process of that, I also manifested a guest coach for my community for the spiritual business program. And this woman is, again, she's amazing. She is someone that I admire. And in the process of connecting with these women and actually creating tangible results and connections with them, I was realizing so much of what I'm feeling within and what I'm sharing in my messages is in alignment to what they're sharing and saying. So my last piece for you is if there is someone that you are admiring, right? And when I say admiring, like You see them and they immediately spark something within you. Allow yourself to admire, right? Like there doesn't have to be envy. There doesn't have to be comparison. And the most important is not pressuring yourself that you're not good enough because you're not where they're at. Instead, allow yourself to be. Allow yourself to feel that admiration and say, that feels good to see what they have. I'm manifesting that for myself, right? Allow yourself to be. Allow yourself to be. And be honest. Where do you judge yourself? Where are you putting pressure on yourself? How often do you criticize yourself? I'd actually love if we each were able to do that throughout the day. Am I being critical? Am I being critical? And I say this because I love you and I want you to be expansive and to free yourself from any chains that you are consumed by. But I also want you to treat others in this way, because being a human, especially right now, is not always easy, and it is a challenge. And we will receive so much more when we allow ourselves to be, when we allow others to be. So my message to you is release the pressure, allow yourself to be. Remember that it's not just for you, but it's also for the collective. And I love you, and I am just so grateful for all of you who are supporting She Who Heals. If you are interested in being a guest on She Who Heals, please send us your email. You can send it to Alyssa K. Barrios on Instagram. Private DM is totally fine. And if you're a healer who's ready to level up in their business, or maybe you're ready to just start building a business or even learn business. I've worked with many healers who are just here to learn business. They're not fully ready to be full-time in their business, even though every single one of them ends up becoming full-time by the time the program is over. You can still go through this healing experience and journey of the spiritual business program and learn business. We are going to begin May 1st, so in 2 weeks, and you can apply through the link in my bio. It is on Instagram, Alyssa K. Barrios. And just know that the vision I see for healers is healers serving their clients, using their gifts, giving themselves less roles, so allowing themselves to play however that looks for them, allowing themselves to play and be, while also having all that it is they desire, having the autonomy to live, having the opportunities and the resources to be able to provide an abundant way of living for not just themselves, but for their loved ones and for the children and the generations to come. Because our ancestors have gone through so much for us to be where we are now. May we continue to receive and do the work so we can acknowledge all that it is we truly do have, the abundance that is within us. I love you, and I will see you in our next episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share us on Instagram, on your social media, tag Alyssa K. Barrios, share to a friend, a loved one, and please subscribe on Spotify and YouTube.